Hi, I'm Sean Madrid for 5 on 20 News, and we are coming to you live from our studio in downtown Tucson. Today I have the Regional Director of Arizona Healthy Working Families, Zaira Livier. And how are you today?
I'm well. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. So I just want to let everyone know that you're currently working on Prop 206 and give you the floor and an opportunity to talk about that or any issues concerning it. Or
Okay. So Prop 206 is the minimum wage campaign, Arizona Healthy Working Families Act. That's what we are looking to do is raise the minimum wage from $8.05 to $12 an hour by 2020. So this is an incremental, stepwise raise. It'll go to 10. That'll be the biggest jump the first day of next year if we win. Then to 10.50 the year after that, 11 year after that, and finally to 12 in 2020. Now, what makes this proposition also very unique and very valuable is that it also has an earned paid sick time component to it. It'll also give all workers the right to earn paid sick time. Again, very minimal, very reasonable. For every 30 hours that you work, you earn 1 hour of paid sick time. Small businesses with 15 or less employees can cap that at 3 days per year. 15 or more can cap that at 5 days per year. And that is our proposition.
Okay, excellent. That sounds great. And I'm going to ask some questions that are political in nature and some that aren't. So I looked at your Facebook earlier today, and I noticed your profile picture is that of DW from Arthur, the animated show and children's classic books, and with the meme of her as Solange from the new album cover.
Right.
So which do you like more, Solange or Arthur?
Honestly, Arthur.
Really? I recently heard that Greg Bailey, the creator of Arthur, he was concerned, or like he was unhappy with all the Arthur memes that are out there. Did you hear
I read that too.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I should take it as true.
Arthur belongs to the people, that's how.
You're absolutely right.
And I also noticed that you're a mom from Facebook, and so, I mean, like, as a mother, what are the political issues that are most important to you?
Well, social justice, which encompasses a lot of things. At the very base, I think, of all social justice is always a living wage, a dignified wage. Then we move on to the problems that we're having with the criminal justice system, as well as equal pay for women, and immigration reform is very dear to my heart. And all of that always ties into our school system, our children, and how they grow up, and what kind of world they end up living in. Being from Tucson and seeing my family kind of go through the same exact thing that then I went through 25 years, 30 years later, and seeing that we're kind of, our generation, the millennial generation's way worse off than our parents are. Yeah. And that's kind of alarming, right? My mother didn't go to college, but she also wasn't, $80,000 in debt by the time she was 28, like me. So
that's all unfortunate, but I know you're doing great things, and I saw that you recently introduced Bernie Sanders at a recent political event here in town. And more, like, we'll talk about Bernie in a moment, but I just am curious. Actually, we'll talk about him right now.
Okay.
What do you and Bernie talk about? Like, what are your conversations like when you've ever had the chance to speak with him?
They've been very short and very clumsy. Every time I have had a chance to say anything to him, I just kind of tell him that I love him and thank you, and that's really the most I've had the time to do. It's always very quick. It's always been a quick picture, a few words, and done. So It's all mostly in my head.
Yeah, short but sweet. So, I mean, I know that you started the movement Latinas for Bernie Sanders, and like myself and so many others, like I understand why he spoke to you, and I'm just like really curious to know the story of how the movement began, like started to gain momentum.
This particular, my own?
Yes, your own.
It was very unexpected. As you just mentioned, he spoke to a lot of us, and he spoke to us for the reasons that everything that he spoke about are things that we've had to deal with, right? Low wages, school debt, immigration reform, healthcare, all of that are things that my family themselves had to go through. I saw my mom lose her house that she'd worked her whole life to afford because Wall Street was being reckless, right? No fault of her own. So when he showed up with all of this beautiful rhetoric, I fell in love with it. And as a matter of fact, almost exactly a year ago, last October, he was here in Tucson at that very large Reed Park rally, and I volunteered. It was my very first time volunteering for anything political, doing anything, showing up to anything political, and I loved it. I got a chance to meet him that day for the first time, chat with him quickly, spend a lot of time with his campaign there, and just met a ton of incredible people that later became really close friends of mine and mentors as well. And I fell in love with the feeling at that rally, which was full of hope. Of people of all different types of backgrounds and a lot of young people, and it was beautiful. And so then I went home and I was very excited. I think I posted a few things about it on Facebook, and a friend of mine, John Berger, suggested, well, why don't you do something? So I went online and I was searching for women, Latino groups that already supported him, and there were Latinos for Bernie Sanders, and but there was not anything that was specifically for women. So I just started a Facebook page, and I said, okay, I'll do something. And then I did, and it was really like a snowball effect after that. It just picked up a lot of, picked up speed very quickly. I was getting invited to all sorts of grassroots meetings around Tucson, and I looked around and I saw that there was no one that looked like me. Everybody was older, everybody was white. No one had any idea on how to call our Latino brothers and sisters, especially in South Tucson, Southside Tucson, where that's where I grew up, and I knew, I thought I knew something that others didn't. So I went in, and I kind of just got swallowed up by it, and before you knew it, I was an organizer. We were doing voter registration drives. We registered hundreds of people, even thousands of people. I started a club at the U of A, to Progressive Minds of America, so that we can register people there, and that took off, and the rest was history after that.
What high school did you go to?
I actually graduated from a very small chartered high school here in Tucson called Presidio High.
Oh, okay. Was it based on the south side? Did you go there?
No, this was actually north. There were not many charter schools in South Tucson when I grew up. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also, so I heard your piece on the radio earlier this year, and from it, I learned that you are actually a resident of the United States and not a citizen, and I'm just really curious of what it's like to be so politically charged and not be able to vote.
That's an interesting question, because people usually expect some great answer.
Okay, so then I can, on top of that, we can talk about like workers' rights in relationship to immigration. Because
No, I like the question.
Okay.
And it's not I don't like it, it's just that I've never just sat there and said, gosh, I can't vote, but I'm doing all of this so others can vote. I just believe that your vote does count, although we know sometimes it won't. I guess I believe as a person that loves this community that you kind of have to do your part. And I wouldn't be able to sleep and kind of live with myself without doing my part in the community that made me who I am today, and that's why I do it. And the day that I do get the right to vote, which should be quite soon, hopefully I'll be voting in next year's local elections. I am already in the process of becoming a citizen. I can't wait. I think it's an incredible privilege. People have fought for it. Many have died for it, and I can't wait to do it.
Well, okay, so then is there any legislation planned, or maybe I haven't read any of the 206 proposition, but because on top of workers' rights being so overlooked in this country, the worker rights of non-citizens is even worse. So, I mean, could you want to speak to that for a second?
They often have no protection. So if you hire an undocumented worker, you can literally stiff them and pay them nothing. And they have almost no protection. There is a great workers' rights clinic at the U of A that if they contact them, they would help them pro bono for free. And it doesn't matter. Yeah, it is called the Workers' Rights Clinic at the U of A, College of Law. And they do help anyone out, but especially people obviously that don't have a lot of money. And I saw that growing up, working, families working hard, my mother, and barely making ends meet, having to work several jobs. And I see it now. I was talking to a school union, a teachers union in Nogales last week. And there was a woman there that had been a teacher's assistant for 9 years. And she makes $11 an hour. 9 years. They were frozen for 7 years without a penny's raise. So yes, our undocumented brothers and sisters are very much affected by it, but this isn't just those disenfranchised folks. This is really a big issue. The workers movement has a lot of work to do here in Arizona because our wages are so low.
Well, how do you feel about the 40-hour work week? Do you think it's an injustice? Like, is that the new fight, like, going forward into the 21st century? Like,
we got the 40-hour work week because of the labor movement, because we needed sleep, we needed time, 8 hours to sleep, 8 hours to spend with our families, 8 hours to work, and that was hard. We finally got it. We know that other countries are going to 30 hours a week, somewhere around there. 40 hours a week. For someone I've literally been working since I was 14 years old. I don't know what it is to not work and not have to work really hard to pay my bills. We know that kind of life isn't great, right? We don't have a lot of time to do anything. And a lot of people say that we are becoming privileged, but I believe that the whole system, we might go into murky waters here, but the whole system is kind of set up so that all you really do is work. And I think that whole system of we exchange a set dollar amount for 1 hour of your work is
a form of slavery.
A form of slavery. I'm glad that we're having these conversations because I think we have, in the market's changing so much. We never actually speak about the market. The market is turning into something completely different that we've never seen before. This isn't the 50s, this isn't the 60s, and it will never be that again. Technology is very much taking over, right? Like most of our private sector jobs nowadays are service industry jobs. These are low wages, no benefits, and they're highly unstable. So we're gonna have to start talking about how do we protect those of us, the 99% that can't find that job and retire in 25 years and take care of ourselves. So there are gonna have to be major changes. What that is, universal income, lower, much higher wages, lower hours. Who knows? Who knows what that is? Who knows what that looks like?
Well, on a lighter note, but possibly not such a lighter note, we recently did a little headline on the dump Trump signs that are all over the city. And I believe that you worked for the Grijalva office at some point. Am I mistaken?
I did not.
Okay.
No.
Well, either way, we know he's responsible for them. And do you think they're funny or not so funny?
Yeah, of course. Of course they're funny. Yeah.
Like leading off of that, like what do you think of the current political, like the presidential race? Are you worried or not so worried, or is it like the same as it ever was?
Oh God, no. No, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
I remember when I was running a lot of the Latinos for Bernie Sanders stuff before the primary was over, my rule was on all platforms, you don't post anything about Trump on any of our feeds. That was my rule.
Yeah.
And if anybody broke it, oh my gosh, I would have a fit. And it was because I thought, this guy's a joke. We're not going to give him any time. We're not going to give him any free publicity on any of our mediums. We will not go there. And then he won. Right. And I realized, wow, I underestimated that clown. And now we are where we are now. And it's terrifying. It's terrifying because racists don't care anymore. They're not hiding behind fake profiles. I have things said to me or sent to me that are scary, and these are people, normal grandfathers, students, normal dudes that you see. Their name is there, where they work, where they are. These guys are no longer afraid. As a mother, it's scary to see where we're going in this. But then again, I think there's a lot of hope. I think a friend of mine says that this is kind of like the baby boomers' last hurrah, last grab to stay in power.
Yeah.
And I hope that that's the case. But yeah, the rhetoric against Mexicans. Yeah. I'm Mexican. I'm a Mexican immigrant. I crossed the border illegally with my family, and I have no shame in that. We crossed over. We are entrepreneurs. My mom has opened several businesses. She has hired people. I'm a student. I'm an active member in my community. We are the opposite of what Trump likes to say. So it's it's very hard. I doubt that he'll win in any way, shape, or form. I would, though, be very, very excited to deliver Arizona to Hillary, or just not to him.
Right.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, that would be so cool to see that. I mean, so many states are on the possibly flipping.
Right.
So, like, a lot of people in Tucson remember you as a bartender at Vaudeville.
Yeah.
So, what do you miss about those days? What are you glad to have left behind?
I miss the simplicity of going to work and having fun, and then going home, or going out and having more fun, and studying. And my biggest worry was really just, again, paying my bills, getting good grades. I miss the simplicity of that. I don't miss the bartending part at all. I hope I never ever have to do it again. It's terrible. But the best part is I've met all of great friends. I met a lot of people bartending downtown. But I miss the simplicity. I feel like nowadays I just kind of carry the world on my shoulders. I never just have fun. I can never just say, well, I'm doing good, and Tate's fed and he's clothed and he's healthy, because I know that if one child isn't fed and one child is being bombed, like in Syria, then my child will never be okay. I'm a firm believer in being our brother's keeper, and being basically I will never be happy again. And because world peace is something that is not going to happen. Our world is being destroyed, et cetera, et cetera. We live in some trying times. And people keep saying we can't wait for this election to be over. It's not going to be over on election day.
Right.
At
least the noise will be.
I doubt it. I really doubt it. I don't think that Trump is going to lose easily. I don't think his base is going to go into the darkness swiftly and quietly. Global warming will still be happening. War will still be happening. Mass incarceration will still be happening. Our schools will still have hardly any funding, et cetera, et cetera. I don't see the noise at this point dying down.
Well, then my last question is, do you plan to run for office someday?
I get asked that pretty often, and for a second there I thought, sure, why not? But at this point where my job requires that I do a lot of grass tops, meaning I'm with politicians pretty often, I'd rather be in the background organizing and making trouble back here where I can be myself, because I think once you become a politician, you kind of are owned by everyone else. And you don't have the power that you don't have much power as a politician. You do win the popularity contest, and that's something that I really don't have any interest in.
Sure.
So at this moment, no.
You don't feel like you can affect change in an office?
If the political climate was ever open to a single mother that's brown, that has tattoos, and that kind of curses a lot, and is very anti a lot of things, then sure, then maybe yes. If I could get funding and I can make some trouble, then sure. But until that happens, I really doubt that there's any place for me.
Well, I would vote for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So this was Sean Madrid with Zaira Livier, coming to you live from our studio in downtown Tucson.